Hello and welcome. This is the second session MS project. I'm really happy that you can join. So welcome. I have opened the chat room, so make me a sign like that I know who is watching. If you don't want, you don't do. I'm Christian from Vision 6D and the session has just started. I am doing an introduction to MS Project that you can have an interactive session. The idea is to be able to ask questions live. Today the topic is on resources. We had last week a first session on planning. We did a basic plan about MS Project and within MS Project, and today I'm going to continue that plan, but by adding resources. For that, I will just show the topic of what we'll do today. This is what is behind me. We see that it is a plan. It's a customer relation management system. It's an IT system that is going to help marketing, sales, support to do their job. It's a central database where you can do different kinds of work, and here the project is to evaluate one of those systems and to put it in place. So we had done a planning. We saw the last time how to define the different steps which are necessary, and then we evaluated durations of the different activities, and we did a complete planning. Everything is sequential to keep it quite simple since it is an introductory lesson. And today we are going to add resources to this project. If for the moment you don't have the project itself, it's simple enough that you can follow. I will post it, put it on our website in the download section. I will open a new session, a new section for those sessions of introductory level. Like that, you should be able to download all the necessary files to redo those exercises we are going to see today. So once again, welcome. If you have questions, don't hesitate. It's relaxed, it's in a relaxed way. Those sessions are here to give you the opportunity to look, to learn how MS Project is working. What we are doing are conventional projects following what is called waterfall or cascading styles of project. There are different ways to go after project. There are mainly agile ways which are different with scrums. There are lean ways with Kanban. So all these are topics that we are going to see in the future in those live sessions. The next session, if I can say right now, will be about costs. So today we look at resources, and the next session that will be next week will go into costs of those resources. So now I will switch the camera and we can enter into the real work with MS Project. So I'm in a seated position like that. It's easier for me. I just need to get the mouse and everything that I can start to work on this. So I'm here. What you see currently behind me is what we are going to do. We are not going to start because this is what I will have in the end of the project. But to give you an idea of the goal of this session today. So now I'm going to switch and to go to another file, another version of this file. I will shortly describe you the project. So this is what we had done in the first session. So if you refer to the video entitled Part 1 Introduction, I'm not sure if Part 1 is there, but this is what we've done so far. So what we do, you see here up, we have what we call the timeline. And the timeline is really interesting because it's easy to use to do presentations. You will tell me if you really understand this project. So in this project, we have a first stage where we do the initiation. It's when we are gathering the information, where we define what we want to do. Once we know this, we enter planning, and in planning it's a global planning, and one aspect that is really important of the planning is the budget. Once we know how we'll do the things time-wise, we know the budget, we are ready to get the approval from the steering committee or the director's board. Once we have that approval, we will enter into what is execution realization, the stage where all or most of the work is done. This will start, you see we have a date here, it will start by the 26th of April and it will last till the 13th of July of next year to have here what we call the go to production. It means that this system can at that moment be used and operated within the organization. With this, you have now an understanding of how the project is going to evolve. What we do within that project, you see the initiation, we needed to define the scope. It's defining exactly what needs to be done in the project. With that, we define for who are the stakeholders. Stakeholders are the people involved around the project. So it's a CRM system, so it's an IT system, but it is made for people from marketing, sales and support. So marketing is highly involved in our organization to do the evaluation and how this system should work. With this system, we'll be able, from the first calls, the first web publications about our services and products, up to the sales and support of the customers, will be followed within that system. So I said that we have after the planning, and you see here I have tasks which are macro planning, it's a global planification or scheduling, then the budget and the approval. So I said already certain things about those tasks which are here. Here in this column you find the duration that I had estimated the last time. Then we'll enter into realization here, and here we do a realization in a cascading way. We could imagine that it's done in iterations like in Agile project. This is a possibility that we'll look in a further session. So we made it really simple here task-wise. We do first the conception of the system, in which we do the evaluation of the different systems that exist. Once we've done that, maybe I add a task here because I remember now that I had forgotten it. So like that, you see how I add a task. I will call this procurement. with a slight mistake. So we have procurement, and I haven't defined procurement, so I will add here 5 days to procurement. And you see that it comes here down in parallel. I want it to be sequential, so I can simply take all those tasks here and say, if I come here up, that they are sequential. So like that, I have the complete sequence, with one thing which is here a bit wrong. I have to correct this. Yeah, why not? Let's leave it like that. I think it won't bother us for the moment. So, to those people that are arriving, welcome. It's Christian from Vision 6D, and I'm glad that we can have that session together. So, what we define is that during the procurement we will buy the system. After that we need to install it. There will be a bit of development. There will be integration work. Sometimes I have the question, what is integration work? This is a system. There are already within the organization other systems that do, for example, the mail of the organization. So that system is a marketing system. So for example, we need to connect it to the mail server, that the CRM system, when it's doing a marketing campaign, can send the emails to the mail server, that the mail server can send it worldwide to their customers. So this is an example of what we do during integration. After that, we have the training. There will be a session of training for the users, and the people that did the installation. Like that, will be able to do the tests. And once the test is done, there is one key point that I name here, go or no go to production. It's again the stakeholders that will say, okay, the system is okay, we've tested it, we can go now into operating or into production. So this is how the project will go. These are the major activities we'll have. And in the end, once the system is in operation, we'll leave a few weeks, maybe 1 month, because it will have childhood diseases and we'll need to correct those things. But after a certain time, it should be stabilized, and we can consider that the project work is done. It is now in operation, and it might be a different team that looks at the operation of this system, and we can then close the project. So there will be closing of the project. So with that, I described quite shortly the context in which we will evolve. So to remember, here is a table part, here is the Gantt chart part, and now you see here up we have the possibility to define tasks. And today what we will be interested by is resources. How do we assign resources? I won't enter into resource pool, but I'm sure that out of curiosity you might want to know when we use the resource pool, it's a way to share resources between different projects. So if you are managing several projects, it means that with a resource pool, you can have resources working in different projects that you assign, that you use their level of activity in the different projects. I see that I have remark. Okay, so it's Moriel Garcia saying, hello sir, watching from Philippines. Hey, incredible, incredible. I'm in Geneva, Switzerland. It's a rainy day today. It's quite cold outside, And yes, thank you for this session. Thank you to you too that you are watching. So everyone is welcome. For me, it's a real pleasure to be live like that. So I was saying about resources, the resource pool, we aren't going to treat this today. And here there is another thing, which is the team planner. The team planner is dedicated if you are using a small team which is not working in project environment. It's more like a team doing support, and every day or every week they have new tasks that come, and this is a tool that will help you manage such a team. There are already video about this topic. You can search on my channel the team planner. There is a video. If requested, maybe later on, not today, but in a later session, I'll do one session about the team planner. So this is said for the moment what you find. And here is a part that we won't look today. It's about leveling resources, because when you are assigning resources to tasks, it might already be that the resource is already working during that time to something else. So there are conflicts. And it's this that we call over allocation of resources. So good, so far so good. So we will now go into a table. So whenever there is an issue, you can always go, as I did now, on task, select the Gantt chart, and you'll come back to the Gantt chart, and from there you can always go where you really want to go. So here I will now create resources for this project. So for that, I'm going to use here what is called the resource sheet. In case that the resource sheet is not appearing in a list here, you can go down on more views, you see, and you look for the resource sheet and you find it here. So we have constantly the timeline that will stay here. That it is easier for us, I will remove the timeline. So I go into view, you see, and here there is a checkbox where you can say, I want to remove the timeline. Like that, we have the complete resource sheet. So I went one step too fast. Let me just go, because I want to show you, first of all, here there are resources. You have a column for resources, and I could say I can define directly here resources. I key in, they aren't defined anywhere in MS Project. PM stands for Project Manager. So who is going to define the scope in the project? It's the Project Manager. So this is one way you can add anywhere here other resources the way I did. The difficulty with this is that you have really to remember how you wrote the name or the function. So I'm going to work here based on function. I think in the beginning of a project it's always better to work with functions instead of specific name. I could have keyed in here Christian, for example, because he is going to be the project manager. I think it's a better way first to define the functions. So once again, you could just go ahead here and add the name of the resources. So now we'll go to that resource sheet. And you see that the resource PM is defined. So it will help us in understanding the different columns that we find here. So first of all, it's the name that we find in the Gantt chart. Here, a second thing which is really important, it's the type of resource. we will see that there are different kinds of resource. I'll go back to this a bit later on. Today, what I'm doing is I'm going to use work resources. But I'm also going to use the two other ones, but you will see that those possibilities are really important to understand. After this, I will skip the part which is material, initials. MS Project is taking the first letter of the name to create an initial. You can also create your own initial. Group. Group is an interesting function. You could, for example, here define the different departments of your organization. You could have IT, marketing, sales, management, or you could even put something like external for consultants and things like that. It allows after, when you treat the data, to have certain classification or sorting according to departments. After that, there is a column here, which is the maximum unit that you can use in this project of the resource. What does it mean? It means that, for example, PM, that is here, as it is defined by MS Project by default, the PM is working 100% for this specific project. It could be that you say, in our case, our PMs, they have at least 2 projects. So on this project, the PM will be allocated for a maximum of 50%. So this is something that you have to define here. For this, you see here, we immediately have a warning because we already allocated, assigned the resource to a certain task. So I will come back because I don't want to start immediately with the red color. Okay, so this is the maximum value. Of course, that if you have, for example, and will have engineers working in this project, we could simply say a resource that is engineer, but they could be 2, maybe 3 engineers. So you could raise this to 200%, meaning the capacity of 2 persons, or 300 or so on, according to maybe the team of engineers that would work. So this is a value that can go way up. So after that, we have here standard rates, overtime rates, costs per use. This I don't want to enter for the moment. Just a point about the standard rate. It's based on this that MS Project is going to calculate the cost of work. I'm going to come back to this a bit later, and all those different parts, overtime rate, cost per use, is it prorated, all this relates to cost calculation of the work. If there are questions, you can at any time ask. People that have arrived, welcome. This is an open session like that. And today we deal with resources in MS Project. The last point that I want to show you here is the calendar. It means that each resource is working with a calendar. There are, as you saw, 3 different calendars within MS Project by default. There are many more that you can create. You can have a company calendar, you can have a project calendar, and then of course each resource can have its own calendar, for example, to set holidays or training dates when they won't be available for the project. So all this is held into calendars. The standard calendar is the one defined by default, is the one that we are going to use. It says that you work 5 days a week and from 8 to 5 in the evening. So this is the points about the calendar. So now we've seen one resource. I will define the next resource. The next resource for me will be a stakeholder that I will name Stakeholder 1. The stakeholder is somebody that has influence on your project. It can be a member of the board, it can be a department manager, it can be the IT department manager, for example, or it can be a customer, for example. So I'm defining a resource here which is Stakeholder 1, and I will define another resource that I call Stakeholder 2. And you see, MS Project continues to define those resources by default as work resources. So you pay attention that here the two stakeholders, they have the same initials, so you might need to change this. Now we will also need the Chief Marketing Officer, so I will entitle his function CMO, and he is also of type work. And after we will need some engineer, so I will name one engineer 1 and another one which I will name engineer 2. And after I will also need some developers, so I will have developer 1 and developer 2. So all those resources are of type work. And so I have this. I maybe also have assistant marketing that will be part of the project. And then I will need a few testers. I define tester 1 and tester 2. So with that, I have defined a few resources. So at that stage, what I can say is that when we are in that situation in the project, it means that we are defining the resources we need. You see that I've defined here not the people namely, but I defined their function. When we are at the beginning of the project, it's quite fine to do it like that, even up to the budget, because you still don't know if you get the agreement by the board on your project. So it might also be that you have money in this project to go up to the stage where you propose the budget. You still are not sure to enter the phase with execution. So there is no use to define certain names specifically. I know you might like Paul as a developer and you would like to have Paul in your project, but you can do it, but of course that it's not the most important at that level. So now one clear point. We are going to talk about allocating resources and assigning resources. Allocating is what we've done. We said, okay, we need 2 engineers, we need 2 developers, we need testers. And the board, when they approve your project, they agree to provide you with those resources. So we are doing what is called the allocation of a resource. If now I go to the Gantt chart to show you that nothing changed. And I'm doing here the following things. The task which is define stakeholder, I will say, okay, this is again the project manager that should do this. So for this, you see now that we have defined resources, I have here a drop-down list with all the elements in the resource sheet, and I can simply select the project manager. Now, if the project manager is involved here in defining the stakeholder, I will add also the Chief Marketing Officer for doing this. And if I can here up, I will also add, when we define the scope, the Chief Marketing Officer. And I will also add some other resources here. It could be interesting that here, and I'm showing you to do this in a different way, and for that I opened the task information by double-clicking here on the task, and here you see that you can go within resources. You find here the name of the task, which is define scope, the duration. You see that we've defined this as 20 days of work, and we have here already the 2 resources that we have defined for this part of the work. I'm going here to add, of course, the stakeholder, and maybe we can also here come and add one of the engineer that they are involved in the definition in the beginning of how that system should be. So with this, you see that we have the different resources, and we say that they are all defined here as 100% involvement during those 20 days, which of course you can imagine that for the stakeholder it won't be possible, but I leave it as such, and maybe you can try and do it with maybe, let's say, 20%, 1 day a week, or not even 10%, maybe half day a week. The stakeholder is at the disposal for the definition of the scope in this project. So I'm going to say OK, and you see that here within our predecessor column we find all our resources here, and in regard to the task, the bar of the tasks here, we see them as well. So I will make this smaller here. So we've defined here a few resources, and you see that they start to appear in the diagram. So now I'm going down to the planning. So maybe the planning, it should be done by the project manager, so I can key in PM because it's easy to do it that way. And I could also say, okay, macro planning, maybe this should even involve the chief manager, chief management, chief marketing officer, CMO, and budget, of course, that this is a point where it's the project manager that is involved and prepares the budget. And here the approval, this is involving a meeting, and maybe we say that the decision is made by the different stakeholders and maybe the chief marketing officer. PM is involved, but he is not the one making that decision. So with that, we've defined already a few resources in this project, and you see how it goes. Now I will enter here into the conception. So we admit that now we have that project that is accepted, and we enter into the part where the definition, the evaluation of the different systems that we want to install, how they would be, could take place. So for this I will involve the project manager and maybe the 2 engineers and maybe 1 developer. You see that there are certain tasks where quickly it can involve a lot of people. I see here that I've written something wrong, developer with 2 O. So I will now just go back to the resource sheet and I will do a change. This allows me to tell you that whenever you do a change on the name of a resource, or that you want to pass from the function to maybe say that developer 2 is not anymore developer 2, we know that it is Paul, you could change it and you see that immediately here it has changed everywhere. Developer 2 that had 2 O's has now a single O. So once again, welcome to this session. If you have questions, it is welcome. Any question, it's also by mistakes that we learn. So here the procurement maybe will say that the procurement is maybe made by engineer 1, and let's admit that one of the stakeholder will have to sign some documents, contracts about this. So this is what will be done by the stakeholder. So here, installation, I will say that we need engineer 1 and engineer 2 to do the installation of the system, and here development will need developer 1 and developer 2. So you see that it's quite simple the way we can go and continue to do those things. So now I'm coming here to integration and I will go into resources, and you see that you have a button here that you can use, which is assign resources. So it comes with a pop-up window and you can go down. We are within integration, and I will say that integration will be performed by engineer 2. So I can simply say assign here, and I could also say that maybe integration, one of the developer has to be involved because there are some tricks that should be done or changed and he knows about this. But I'm first going to ask the graph, and you see that here it's showing us when the resource is available. We have here the possibility to see that the resource was already allocated, and you see more or less for which tasks they are already allocated. So what I will do, so it's that I will select now developer 2. Oh yeah, I was within this part. I have to go back and do this again. So I wanted in fact developer 2 to be part of this. So we have engineer 1. I will leave this for the moment. So we have engineer 1 and developer 2. Training, I will leave it aside for the moment, and tests, it's simply here I will assign the resource, which are here down, which are testers. Tester 1, I assign it, and I will also assign tester 2. Like that, I can close this. So now I want to remove that view that is here down. So for this, I go on view here, and I uncheck details, which are here. Like that, I see my project, and I would like to see my complete project in the Gantt chart, and for this I will go here on view and I select here entire project. So now what I've done, it's that I have assigned the resources in this project. It means that to each task I've said which resource has to handle or has to be involved into the task. So this is how we've done it now. Now I wanted to show something here at the installation, that task that is here. In order to do this, I will go to the resource sheet again. And I will add for engineer 1 an hour rate. I will say engineer 1, he's 100 euros, dollars, Swiss francs per hour. It's his rate. And I will say developer 1, developers, they are at 75 euros per hour. So I'm doing this. You see, this is how we add cost or hour rate for the different people. Just a short parenthesis, you don't need to know exactly the rate. It's an order of magnitude that you want to have, especially when you are at the beginning of a project and you are talking budget. So you want to have those values. I'm not going to complete the rest. I'm going to come back to this when we do the third session on costs, but I need this to show you something right now. So we see here that integration or installation, I will take installation here. So I open the task information about that task, and I go into resources. Yes, I am into resources. And you see that the cost of this task will be 4,000 euros. And we have those two resources. Now, if I'm curious and I would like to see what it would cost me if instead of engineer 2, I would take developer 1. So I have to say here that he is assigned. I have to go out and I have to come back. And here you see that if for this task we would use developer 1, the cost of this resource would be $3,000 instead of 4,000. So this is just one way to show you that this is absolutely natural, that you have more expensive resources, so you always try to find maybe somebody that is a bit cheaper that can do the job. So it's why you have in organization a few experts, a lot of juniors which are there, and a lot of co-workers that are at a certain price. So this is just to show you that that's problem that we know. Can we assign to this task this resource? Here we illustrate it with the cost way, but it might be that in your case a resource is difficult to be allocated because it's somebody with a lot of knowledge and you're not sure that you are going to get that person into your project. So this is an illustration of such a situation where with the cost it shows that you could maybe choose a developer for this task instead of an engineer. So I'm going to remove this. It's simple. I went there, clicked on delete, and that resource is deleted from this task. So with all that, we have now all the resources involved in the project. Maybe here down at the closing meeting, I can maybe add a few resources, maybe engineer 1, chief marketing officer, project manager, the 2 stakeholders. Yes, this could be it. So with that, we have assigned the resources. So now there is one kind of, or 2 other kinds of resources that I would like to introduce you. When we do the installation, we need some systems, whether they are physical, virtual systems, systems in the cloud. We need a system as a resource. When we do the installation, it might be that people within the organization, although they are excellent, they haven't installed already once in their life such a system. For this, we might have to call in a consulting company that have specialists or experts for those type of installation. So for this, I'm going now to go back to the resource sheet. Any question can be asked. So I said that we first need an application, something, the CRM software itself. So I will name this application software. And this is not something which is of type work. It might be something of type cost, because that software, we have to buy it, we pay a fixed amount plus maybe a yearly subscription. Or we use it in the cloud and we buy maybe 30 licenses, 13 monthly licenses that will provide to our users. So in any case, this is a cost and I will define it as a cost resource. A cost resource, it means that the cost won't be calculated based on the number of worked hours. And for this, we need a server. I said that it is a physical, that it is a virtual machine, that it is in the cloud. We need a server. And I need to define here that this is not simply of type cost. It will be of type material here. So now I've defined 2 different resources to give you an idea what they can be. And now I will open a parenthesis. There might be among us people that come from the construction sector, industry, they don't deal with servers. So material is best illustrated where, for example, you are building a house and you are doing the foundation of the house and you need concrete. So we would define here a resource as being concrete of type material. And we would define a price per unit, meaning that if it's 100 or 200 euros the cubic meters and you need 5 cubic meters, you would say for material that the quantity you need 5 of them, meaning 5 cubic meters. Closing the parenthesis. So with that, we've defined those two resources. So now they are allocated to the project. We need to assign them to tasks. And the task is here. It's the task number 11, which is the installation. So I will come back here, and we see that we have the application software, which is here, and the server. So I will need the server and the application software as additional resources to complete that installation task. If there are questions, you are welcome. You can ask any question. So, with this, I've defined those additional resources. And now there is one point that I would like to ask. We've seen here some of the work that the project manager has to do. These are specific tasks in which the project manager is involved. He will be involved at the initiation, at the planning. But during the execution, what's the task of the project manager? Sometimes the project manager is one of the engineer, one of the developer that has that function of project manager function as an additional task to what he does. So here you see that during execution that will last, because we see it here. Or if I go back to the timeline, all that phase which is here, what is the project manager doing? We haven't anything that is specifically project manager task. So of course he has all those management tasks which are reporting on how the project is going, controlling that the project advances according to this plan that we've defined here. He will have to check about the costs, make sure that we stay within the cost, that we stay within the schedule, that we are okay with the deadlines, that we don't take any delay. So we have to define those tasks here inside. And my proposition, if you agree, if you don't want to agree, you can comment. It's that I insert a task and I will add here simply said as project management tasks, which will come here inside. And those project management tasks, they will start, I would say, as it is defined here. You see the 26/4/21. So for me, this is fine. And it should last something like 56 days. A bit short with 56 days. I'm going to put 59 days. Yes, it's not bad. Let's round it up to 60 days. So, these are the tasks of the project manager. Of course, that if we define this as such, and I come here, and I'm saying here, from here down, it's the project manager tasks. So he is the only one involved in doing those tasks. You see that we have here a certain conflict. So I will solve that over-allocation conflict in a short way. I will simply remove here the project manager from those tasks and say that conception is done by the engineers and developers. Like that, it's easier. I can go to my point. So now what I want to say is that the project manager, with the task he is going to do here, that set of tasks which are project management, he maybe is not working 100% all the time during the execution here. So for this, let's admit that this project manager, for the project management tasks, it's maybe taking his time 1 day a week. So he is in reality working at 20% on that project management tasks, in which he will write report, assist to meetings, talk with the stakeholders. So for that, I go into the information here, and you remember that we had here the resource and the unit, and I will decrease the unit to 20%, 1 day a week. And here something really funny happened. So this is sometimes when it happens, the reaction is not as you expected it. They are prolonging the task by as many days that the work corresponds really to the 300 days. So I need to correct this and bring it back to the 60 days. We'll see now what happens in the Gantt diagram, and we see, oh, there are details and nobody told me that I should have maybe changed my size here. Like that, yes, I've become a bit more down like that. You can see way better behind me, and you see here in this zone we have the PM that is defined as 20%. So I'm going to change the color of this bar to have us understand that this is the work of the project manager. So I switched this to a yellow color. So with that, I have now the tasks that are project management tasks, which are there defined for the project manager. So this is sometimes something that we don't see in projects. We just see the planning, and sometimes we see the project management tasks, because in the end, depending on the size of the project, it's an important part of the project management tasks. They are those tasks that take you time, a lot of time. So it is work. So in the end, it also has a cost. So with that, I think that now you've seen how we assign resources in that really simple project, with different ways to assign the resources which are here, which are defined in this project. So if there are questions, they are welcome. If it's not the case, then let me just check if there are questions. If it's not the case, then this is the end of the session 2 about resource allocation. I hope you enjoyed it. If you followed the session still here, you've done really well. I hope, and I'm saying that this, I'm going to put it on our website. Like that, you'll be able later on to come back to take this and to continue, and of course bring changes to what you have here in front of you. Make mistakes, try, and then you can comment or ask questions. With that, I'm at the end, as I was saying, of this session, so I'm really glad you could follow. You appreciated the session. Thumb up, share it with your friends, comment, subscribe to the channel if it's not the case, because this really helps. And all what is left to me is to wish you a really good time. Have a great time. See you soon. Bye bye.